This video I'm going to install some MC4 solar panel connectors on 8 AWG and 10 AWG wire, and I will also show how to solder them on solid wire when the crimping method fails. So here I will pull out 2 male and 2 female metal crimp contacts, and then get the plastic parts ready to be installed after I strip the wires and crimp the metal contacts on them. I decide to start with the 10 AWG wire, so I need to go grab my wire cutters, and then I will hold the first end up to see how much I need to strip off the end in order to crimp the metal contacts on. It looks like I only need to take off about 1/4 inch to 3/8, so I will eyeball about that and put the wire in the slot for 10 AWG, press the cutters together and spin them around to cut the plastic off the end. Then I will pull the plastic off and twist the wires together and look at the connector I need to figure out which contact I have to crimp on. The male plastic pieces that go inside the other pieces will actually have the female metal contacts inserted into them, so I just remember that it's the opposite whenever I install these ends. So I will put the male metal contact that will go inside the female plastic piece on the stripped 10 AWG cable end, and then grab my crimpers out of the case and look for the slot in the tool marked for 10 AWG. And then I will insert the contact part that gets crimped down into the tool and squeeze the tool together all the way, and I will have a perfect crimp for the metal contact onto the cable. Later on I figure out that I think it's easier to insert the metal contact into the tool and then insert the exposed cable end, and after which I will show in the next video I shot. So with the first metal contact crimped on the red positive 10 AWG cable, I will move on to the end for the black negative cable, so I will strip about 3/8 of an inch of the plastic off the end with my wire cutters. And now I will twist the wires together and then take the female metal contact that the male end inserts into and put it on the end of the exposed wires. But the contact falls off, so here is where I decide to try inserting the metal contact into the crimping tool first, which ends up making it so much easier to line everything up correctly. Then I just insert the twisted wire end in and squeeze down on the crimping tool, and I will get another perfect looking crimp on the metal contact. So I will pull on both contacts really hard to see if I can get them to come off, but they don't, so I'll move on to installing the plastic pieces, starting with the female parts that go over the male metal contact. I have since ordered some other MC4 connectors where I like the design better than how these connectors that came with the crimping tool are designed, but they both essentially work the same way. You put the end piece on first, then the parts to keep water out, you snap the piece that connects to the other connector onto the metal contact, and finally screw it all together. The crimping tool I bought came with some plastic wrenches that are designed to help you tighten the ends onto the connectors all the way. So I will just put them on each separate part and then twist the wrenches until I can't twist them anymore, and I will be done installing the first MC4 connector. For the next one I will explain step by step, starting with sliding the end piece over the metal contact on the cable. Then I will slide the pieces with the seal inside over the metal contact and into the end piece. Next I will slide the male plastic piece on to the female metal contact and then firmly grab the cable directly behind it and try snapping it on. But that doesn't seem to work with these connectors, so I have to use the table to force the cable down inside the plastic part until I hear the metal contact snap into place. Then again, I just screw the end onto the connector until it's finger tight and use the plastic wrenches to tighten the pieces together the rest of the way. And now I will connect the two ends since they do not have a current running through them, so I can demonstrate how to use the plastic multi-tools to disconnect the MC4 connectors. I slide the ends with the two thicker spikes sticking out over the middle of both connectors where the clips hold the pieces together, and then push up to squeeze the clips in so they can slide out of the female connector. Next I will install the connectors on some 8 AWG cables, which are too big for my wire cutters, so I have to do them just a little bit differently. Before I start, I will check to make sure that the cable isn't too big for the seal that goes inside and it just barely goes on, so I will continue installing the MC4 connectors. I cut them using a utility knife, so I will lay the cable flat on the table and slowly slice into the plastic until I feel the wires, and then roll the cable to cut more of it until I'm all the way around. Then I can twist the plastic end off, exposing the wires so I can twist them as well, and I will slide the end on along with the parts to make the connector watertight, which the seal is a little difficult to get on all the way. Next I'm going to install the female metal contact and the male plastic connector piece just like I did for the others on the 10 AWG wire. And I'm going to use the 10 AWG slot on my crimper tool since that is the largest option it offers, so I have to squeeze a lot harder to get the end to crimp down into the additional wires. So after I am finished installing the male connector, I notice that the female contact inside it seems to be pushed in further than the other one I did, so I need to take the other one apart to redo it. And I think there may have been a manufacturing defect because I had a really hard time getting the contact to go into the plastic all the way, but I finally force it in after much effort. Then I will move on and install the male metal contact and female plastic connector piece for the red positive AWG cable, and I will have both ready to test with my solar panels. So here is a closer view of an installation, and the main thing that I want to point out is that I'll be using a male on one end and a female on the other, so you can't put the wrong connector on extension cables. I think it's easier to position the contact into the gripping tool first so I can see that I have it evenly in place. It seems a little harder to see when I tried with the wire and the contact too. So after inserting the wire into the metal contact that I have in the 10 AWG slot of the crimping tool, I will squeeze the tool to crimp the contact onto the wire. Then I decide to move the crimped contact down to the 12 AWG slot and crimp it once again because I just had a connector pull off when I was testing my solar panels. I think that was mostly because I was using a solid electrical wire though, so I will show how I solder MC4 contacts on them next since it's such a common wire used for electrical projects. These cables are stranded wire, and if you look really close at the contacts after they are crimped on, you will see that this tool I'm using will force the metal down inside the strands, which makes it more ideal for MC4 connectors. Also, these are a different design, which I like much better because it has one less part I have to worry about lining up. I just slide the seal into the connector and then tighten the end on all the way. And here I will show that I can just pull the connector right off after installing it on a solid 10 AWG wire, so I decided to try soldering the connectors on since I'm just testing with these. But first I have to figure out how to get the contacts out since they are designed to stay in the connectors after they are snapped into place. So I decide to try to grab the middle of the contact with needle nose pliers and squeeze down really hard to get a good grip, and I was able to pull it out that way. Next I will slide the metal contact back onto the wire without the plastic and bend it around until it's in a good position for me to solder it on. So with the soldering iron heated up, I will press it up against the metal contact and hold it there until it's hot enough to start melting my solder. And I figure that out by pressing the soldering wire into the heated area until it starts to spread out all around to the hottest areas of the wire and metal. Once it starts melting, I will just keep feeding it into the puddles until they fill up the hole inside of the contact to where it won't pull off after I let it cool down. And it is important to understand that this is not an ideal way to install these connectors because if the wire gets too hot, it can melt the solder and the wire could fall out if it's not fastened down properly. Hopefully this video has helped, and feel free to ask any questions that you still may have in the comments. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe for more quick and on-point videos.